Welcome, Winiacs and Wisdom Wanderers, to another wonderful edition of Wine and Wisdom. I'm your host, the Matt Kane. That's right, I said I have an ego. And this week, I'm joined by one of my great friends, Miss Jenna Love. Look at that,
guys.
Love. What a perfect name for a perfect podcast. Jenna Love. How are you, Jenna?
I'm good.
Good. Glad you're here.
Thanks.
Glad you're staying present with me
yeah.
for Wine and Wisdom. If this is your first time watching and or listening, thank you. What this show is all about is getting to know somebody behind the veil, drinking wine, and talking about what it means to be a human being, right? That's really what it's all about. You know, we want to get to know each other, and what insights can we glean from one another on what it means to be a human being. A couple insights here and there about the human condition. That's really what it's all about. So, yeah, awesome, wonderful. If you want to follow us, if you want to subscribe, leave a like, that would be wonderful. You can do that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can do that on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button right there below. Hit a like, a thumbs up. That would be wonderful. But really all I give a shit about, guys, let's be real, is that you're here and you're watching. That's all I care about. So, without further ado, the first part of our show is the wine.
Oh, yeah.
And Jenna's drinking her own special concoction that we won't talk about. Its own special blend here. But as for me, I got a new bottle finally. I'm drinking the finest of Jacob's Creek Classic Shiraz Cabernet. And this is a vintage from 2019. That makes it vintage, I believe. Yeah. And it's named after Jacob's Creek, the site of Johann Gramp's first vineyard in Australia. Did you know that? No. Probably not, right? Nobody does. But they're a winemaker since 1847. And I'm doing this every week till I get a sponsor. Hey. Somebody better sponsor me. I want to drink your booze.
Right.
But anyways, Jacob's Creek this Shiraz Cabernet is a 65% Shiraz and a 35% Cabernet. Does it mean anything to you?
I don't know what Shiraz is.
But you know what Cabernet is?
Yeah.
I'm more of a Cabernet fan anyway. But here's what they say about Jacob's Creek. Our winemaking tradition dates back to 1847 when Johann Gramp planted his first vineyard on the banks of Jacob's Creek. A medium-bodied wine boasting flavors of blackberry and plum with hints of pepper, smooth tannins, and subtle oak. Enjoy with grilled steak, pizza, or tomato-based pasta dishes. There you go. From Daniel Swincer, winemaker. And you can find out more about Jacob's Creek at jacobscreek.com. So without further ado, let's
pop it.
Get it going. Let's get a little sniffy sniffs. You want to smell?
Oh, my.
So, and for all our ASMR fans out there.
Right.
I always ask most of my guests, are you into the ASMR? She can neither confirm nor deny, I suppose. So let's get it going right here, right now. All right. I don't know, the sound of wine pouring out of the bottle is very relaxing.
All that stuff to me depends on what it is.
Yeah.
I'm a bubble wrap fiend.
Oh, that kind of stuff.
That kind of thing. So I don't know if
you.
that's the sound or if it's the actual doing.
The actual physical act of that gratification of popping.
But I'll jump on it.
Oh wow.
Too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. It's oh.
Interesting. We're learning stuff already, guys. So let's see how this bad boy. I don't know. We'll see how it tastes, huh?
I think it's gonna.
I mean, it's like $5, so. We'll see if it tastes like $5.
Is it like your first sip of Boone's Farm in high school?
Boone's Farm? What the hell is that?
You don't know what that is?
No.
Oh my gosh.
But not bad. Not great, but not bad.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely has a strong. I honestly should take a wine tasting course.
Do it.
I feel like wine appreciation. I feel like that would be a course that I should take because then I can sound more erudite and be like, hey, listen, it's like this and
Check
this.
out every little
All I know
thing.
is, with I like it or I don't, doesn't get me drunk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it taste good, right? Yeah,
Right.
that's really what we're talking about. Okay, so bottles have been popped. Now it's time to pop the top off our minds. So, first question. Who is Jenna Marie?
Well, I'm a mom, first and foremost. I mean, I work at Starbucks, doing the thing, just passed my 8-year anniversary there. Crazy because it's intense, but I love it there. So
I sorry to interject, but
no, you're good.
jobs like that, I don't think I could ever work. Just because I would probably, try to beat somebody up every day. Because
people say that, or
Yeah.
they say like, "Oh, I could do your job, no problem," because it's
no. Like, could I do it? Sure.
Right.
Would I want to? Hell no. Like any job in customer service to
Yeah.
me is just, especially stuff like that where it's fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
It's coffee, so people haven't even had their coffee, so they're probably
Right.
they're on edge
Oh,
probably
yeah.
as is.
Yeah.
And you really do get like a good indicator of what human beings are like when you do work in a service industry.
Right.
So I'm sure you have you can see the ugly side of human
Oh,
beings
yeah.
where like they treat you just as an object.
Oh yeah, we're just there to make your coffee.
That's
it. You mean absolutely nothing to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I treat you like crap, because you're here to do for me. So that's it.
You're here to do a job.
So it's hard. Trust me, it's hard. But I love it all the same because I'm up, I'm around.
Yeah.
Not sitting.
Right.
Whatever.
It
but-
keeps you active. Well, that's
Oh, yeah.
good. So, but how do you deal with a lot of these customers that are just,
honestly,
lack of a better term, assholes, right?
Yeah, you have to look at it, like I'm a trainer there, so like
Yeah.
I tell all my trainees, like just remember, like if somebody comes at you like that, that's their day, not yours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't take it personally,
Absolutely.
otherwise it'll and I've seen it because like I've said, I've been in it for 8 years, it'll mentally break you
Right.
down, and you wouldn't think like, oh, she just works at a coffee shop. You can't really have, but
Yeah.
nobody knows really till like they do it, and I know there's other hard occupations obviously, but like I feel like
Right.
there's physically demanding and then there's mentally demanding, and I feel like mine is somewhat of both.
Both. It's a mix.
So you just have to stay positive and just be like, not my problem,
Yeah.
not my, just let me make you happy.
Right.
And here you go.
It's one of those things where like you have to understand that everybody's going through their own shit. Mm-hmm. And that day, some of that shit spills onto you.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, how do you have compassion towards somebody like that, especially if they're calling you a piece of shit doing this and this,
Right.
and not take it personal?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, with now just being, at the bottom level again,
Yeah.
it's a lot different because technically the managers are supposed to handle it. So, like, it's something that I saw more when I was a manager. But again, it was just, it's basically telling them what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Without sounding like an
Yeah.
asshole
Oh,
back, even though in your head you're like,
Right.
you know what I mean? But you just can't. And honestly, it makes you feel better when you're able to keep your composure to someone who's acting like that, because it's super easy to just react.
Absolutely.
But you come away from it being like, okay, I don't have to lose my cool. I don't have to. And for somebody like me who tends to be a little bit of a hothead, that it's very humbling in a way. So
The way I look at it, the way I kind of deal with it is a little bit different. Like, not to what you do, but like for most people, like you said, react. The biggest thing that happens is we get caught in a reactivity. Like, oh, you got me, right? So we get, because we're so holding on to like that, our ego, that it's like, man, they did something and it really it triggers me and it makes me angry. Mm-hmm. So kind of the way that I look at it is, instead of it being like that, I look at it as, when that person got me angry, I thank them. And like Gandhi actually talked about this. He would, when he was in prison, they would do all kinds of messed up things right to him, withdraw food and all that stuff. Well, he would go to the prison guards after they just got done abusing him to a certain extent, and he would say thank you, and they're like what? Mm-hmm. So, and the reason he said thank you is because he was able to view the response that he had, his reaction to what they did, and because he didn't like it, it taught him a lesson. Right. So he looked at it as, thank you, right? So like if you say to somebody, now you gotta watch that. If somebody pisses
Right.
you off, they're like, fuck you, piece of it, and you say,
Yeah.
thank you. And they're like, what the fuck? It could escalate things.
Right.
But that's the way I look at it is like, you know, you have one part of you that wants to sock them right in the face. But then the other part of you is like, hey, thank you for that lesson because you showed me in myself what I still need to work on.
Right.
Which is
very true.
And what's beautiful about that is when you view things like that, then you think like, what can people really do to you?
Right.
Right? They really can't do anything if everything that they do to you is a lesson, is helping you grow.
Right.
Then you win.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's kind of like what I try to teach my son. You know, I mean, he's only 9, but I feel like it's never too early, and it's like, okay, like you're reacting, you know, this way or that way. What is it getting you? You know, it's the typical kid stuff, like you're mean or this or whatever. You know, it's always the parents, but it's just keep going over what is this getting you? You know, you're getting the same response, the same actions, the same things from me. You want different from me because I want different from you. It's a cycle.
Absolutely.
So it's like you have, you know, and again, he's a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of us don't like learn that until, what are you, 20?
You're so kind.
21!
Yeah. Plus.
But you don't learn that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be 37, and I'm still learning.
Still learning.
So,
and that's life, is a continual state of learning.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm done, I hit 37, I've learned,
Right.
I've done it. It's, and kids will teach you how to learn. You know, they'll teach you so much about yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have any kids.
Right.
But I work with kids. In my
Right.
business, I work with kids all the time. Yeah. So, man, they're little philosophers. They're little dudes and dudettes that help me learn about myself ultimately. And it's great. It's a mirror onto myself. Yeah. I do want to back it up in case people are wondering, like, you know, the dynamics of our relationship. Mm-hmm. We know each other because her significant other, if you will, is a really great friend of mine who's on the Cane Action Team, the YouTube channel, Cane Action Team, our YouTube channel. He's a member of our stunt team, Will Torres. Hopefully he'll be on the podcast very soon. But that's how we knew each other. Yeah. And then, you know, we clicked. We're very much of similar, we're very much kindred spirits in a lot of ways. A lot of ways. So we kind of, we only know each other, I think, a couple years. Yeah. Something like that, yeah. A couple years.
Him and I are going on 2 years.
Okay. So under 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've really hit it off because, you know, we jive.
Oh, yeah.
You know, which is cool. We got similar vibes, as the kids say. We be vibing.
Right.
This will be our thumbnail.
Oh, this?
I guess. I don't know. Maybe not. But anyways, yeah, you mentioned being a mother, and you said you have an 8-year-old?
9.
9.
He's
oh
about
my
to
God.
be 10.
He's about to be 10.
Yeah.
Ah, they grow up so fast. What has your son taught you about yourself? Or taught you about life?
Just honestly, the biggest thing with him is patience.
Ooh.
Patience, because my fuse is like this, you know, and a lot of it does come from the job and stuff, but also like kind of how I was raised and how I grew up and stuff. I have a lot of things from then that I'm attempting to alter, change. I don't want to say fix because it's not broken, but you know, that I don't want to pass down to him. So like every time we get in an argument or every time, you know, he's not listening for some reason, I try to view it as like, okay, why is he acting like this, instead of just, oh my God, you're being such a brat, you know, go to your room, this or that, because more often than not, just like us as adults, they have something going on, and that's why they're acting like that.
Absolutely.
And so like for me, he's not only helped me just like with him, but also like other adults, and even at work and like family, friends and stuff, because it's like, if me as an adult can have a bad day, why isn't my 9-year-old allowed to have a bad day?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything, I just want to like sit and lounge or relax or whatever. Like, why can't a kid do that? Because they're gonna eventually be an adult.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like, why are they held to such like a standard of, you have to be like this and do this and do this? You know what I mean? And he has chores, and I do that stuff with him, but it's just like some days when I want to decompress, he's going to have days where he wants to decompress. So I'm not going to argue with you about it.
Yeah.
So, like, the patience thing comes in because it's like, okay, maybe he's really tired from school, or maybe he's angry about, you know, as silly as it sounds, something on a video game that he had or whatever that made him angry. We all get angry over dumb stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just like looking at things individually, I guess, and just kind of stepping back and being like, okay, well, you know, come over here, sit with me, what's wrong, instead of just firing at them, or, you know, giving them more stuff to do because they're acting up or this or whatever. So patience wise I've gotten a lot better with it because I just kind of step back now instead of just, like we kind of said before, reacting
being
to
reactive.
a situation. Yeah.
And you know, like, that's something that everybody could work on. Adults need how reactive are we? Yeah, towards kids, but to each other on certain things. But like we were talking about before, being able to take a step back, and what they say in you know, like in Buddhism, they'll say the witness, where almost like you're watching what's going on from afar. You know, you look down on it, and when you do that, you look kind of from a third person perspective. It's like you're standing on a bridge watching all the water go by, right? Instead of like jumping in and being in the stream, you're watching it. And when you look at life from that perspective, it does give you a different perspective on things. And instead of rushing to judgment, you can take a deep breath, center yourself, and realize, okay, what is the best course of action when I'm, you know, addressing my son, when I am talking to somebody that, you know, is pissed off at me at work. And I think if we all did that, but the problem, I guess, with that is it takes a lot of self-awareness. Because if you think about it, what anger does is it forces us into the reactivity because we want to get back at them.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And again, that comes from like a state of ego of like,
oh, yeah.
You know, like, how dare you? How dare you? Now I got to get even. Whereas we look at it as a lesson of teaching us, you know. But, so yeah, patience, man, that is, you know, the old adage of patience as a virtue is so true because it's hard. It's hard, and it's hard societally to have patience on anything, and especially, you know, with everything that we have in front of us is instant gratification, instant feedback, instant. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Obviously, phones, internet, you know, the digital age has revolutionized everything, and that's great. But you still have to understand and take accountability for things. So having patience. I mean, God, that honestly can change your life when you start doing it. And having kids will or teaching kids will teach you the most amount of patience. And you brought up something, and, you know, I've studied a little bit of like, you know, children's psychology, neuropsychology with kids, and you're right, like, they go through cycles. Yeah. Just because one day they're going to be perfect little angel doesn't mean you should have the same expectation the next day. Sure, you should have a level of behavior that you need to have an expectation, but you have to be lenient, and you have to put everything, like you said, in context of like, hey, as an 8 or a 9-year-old, they're going to have days where they just have so much energy, and the days where they don't want to do anything because their bodies are changing. They're going through these growth cycles. So you need to take that into account, right? So having the patience to understand that and put things in perspective and context can play a big role. Yeah. And I think there was another point that I just want to jump off on, which was, you know, about all you can be as a parent is a garden, a space for them. Yeah. Right? All you can do is create the optimal environment for your kid to open, to grow. Right. And you do that with your love and with your consciousness to create a space. But the problem is I see a lot of parents where they're still like raising themselves first. So if they can't even raise themselves, how can they raise a child? Right. And that's difficult. So that's the problem is all you can do is offer, and this is really to anyone. Right. All you can do is offer the state of your being. Right. If my being is dark, dingy, and that still has a lot of work to do, that's what I'm going to be offering somebody. If I'm caught up in my ego and all the stuff that I want to get from all, you know, my desires and everything, it's going to go off. It's going to reflect onto you. Yeah. Right. But if I'm coming from more of a pure place, a more centered, more patient place, now I'm offering that to you, and that creates the environment from which our relationship can blossom.
Right.
So, yeah, we all need to do that. We all need to work on that, especially you parents out there.
Well, and just real quick, a lot
Yeah.
of people too like always equate that kind of stuff like that you just said with age, because you know how you said, you know, they're still raising themselves, but honestly, like I see so many younger parents that kind of have it more together than like people my age, and I honestly, like, not to put like parents on blast of like my generation or anything, but I think it's kind of because of them, you know what I mean, in a way.
Sure.
And there's many like different facets that you could get into with that, but it's just like I have like people who I've worked with who are younger who have had kids, and they're doing a great job, you know what I mean. So it just depends, I believe, like you said, self-awareness, and like age doesn't dictate where you are in that journey.
On that journey, amen
you know?
to that.
So
and that's interesting because, you know, people are at different like evolutionary cycles in their life. Like you could have somebody who's a 20-year-old that could be like really like an old, I don't like the term old soul, but like it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they're like a wiser person.
Right.
They're just an older, more evolved level of consciousness. Whereas you got somebody that's 40 years old and they're even younger than them.
Right.
So it's age. Yeah, you would think with age there's like a linear relationship. The older you go, the more wisdom you'll glean.
Yeah.
But not all the time does that happen, right?
No. Yeah.
So, yeah, because you would think with experience comes wisdom, but the problem is, but how do you learn from those experiences and then apply them to your life? That's the other thing, is it's not just that what happened, not how do you apply it, learn from it, grow from it, move on. I want to get a little bit of spirituality because we've talked about books. We've exchanged books a little bit. We've talked about that. So, like, I guess, what does spirituality mean to you? Like, where kind of you on your spiritual quest?
Well, I know, like, I grew up Catholic, and I still believe in a higher power. Do I necessarily say that it's God? Because I'm kind of leaning more toward now, like within the last few years, of it just being kind of a universe type thing.
Yeah.
Do I, like I said, there are higher ups and stuff, you know, so you have your religions, you have your spirituality. Do I think they're interconnected? Yes, but I still feel like it's dual-sided, like where it's either like, oh, meditation, chakras, spirituality, or religion, that's it. And, like, I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
I kind of jive everything. Because, like, if I feel something from, you know, say, a church sermon or quote or something that I see on social media, if I feel it and relate to that and can apply it, that's what I'm going to do. Same with the other side. So, like, for me, it's just about whatever works for me, whatever's going to teach me, lean me the right way. Like, I've tried to start meditating with Lex at night, even if it's just for 5 minutes, just to bring that calmness. Because, like, for me, that's another thing with the parenting thing. Like, my stress levels, and I'm sure, like, anybody can attest to that, even probably just working with the kids. Like, sometimes there's probably a class where it's like, oh my, like, afterward, you're just like, woo,
they're over, one's
you know?
licking the mirrors, you know, and
So it's just like, I never really had, like, a clear definition, because I don't really think that it should be that clear. I kind of think everybody's individual spirituality is kind of molded to what they need, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I know there's certain people that go to, like, spiritual counselors. There's certain people that learn about it all by themselves. There's, you know, people who are into religion who are not into chakra stuff or, you know, that kind of stuff because they think it's witchy or, you know, not of the world or whatever you want to call it. I've run into people like that, but I just feel like whatever makes you better as a whole is what it should be for you.
Absolutely. You bring up a lot of really great, interesting points. And I would agree that our mind divides, the heart unifies. So our minds, it's interesting as humans, it's like we tend to bifurcate things and make it like it's either this way or not. It's either my way or the highway, right?
Right.
But what people got to understand is, like, obviously all religions are man-made to a certain extent, and they're all methods.
Right.
They're all methods to get to you to what?
Follow.
That unitive consciousness, that
Yeah.
state of enlightenment, that state of bliss where you are
Right.
the universe. You are God. You are
Right.
one with God. You are worshiping God. Whatever, what have you. But the problem is, you know, again, man, we put up our walls, we divide, whether that's borders in our countries,
Right.
borders in our minds, borders
Yeah.
in our hearts. So, and more people have been killed in the name of God, in the name of faith, than anything else ever.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a period of time.
Which makes no sense.
Well, there's a period of time there, the Crusades,
Right.
that last hundreds of years, where how many people died just so we
Right.
can reclaim the Holy Land because my way is better than your way.
Right.
And, you know, it's interesting, but because so many people can't look past that. And that's where it's tough. And that's where I believe, like, there are certain religions and religion and spirituality, to me, it's all the same mix,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But again, people, you got to look at your cultural conditioning. Us growing up in the United States of America, in Western society, more, you know, Christian society,
Yeah.
contrast that to somebody that grew up in, you know, Taiwan,
Right.
or somebody that grew up in Burma or
Yeah.
Vietnam, right, or Cambodia, whatever, where they have a completely different outlook on religion
yeah.
and life, right? So the issue with our society, and this is, to me, this is one of the great issues in the West, is that we worship, you know, the white God as being everything. And
Even though he wasn't one.
well, yeah, we can. That's a whole nother.
But yeah.
fucking thing. But and I could spend. This is a very interesting topic to me, as you can see. I could spend a lot of time on. But the bottom line is, it's like this. You and I are taking off from the coast to an island, right?
Yeah.
And we are each in our own boat, and we're rowing along. And I'm saying, "Hey, nice boat there," and you're like, "Yeah, I do like my boat. My boat's better than yours." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, we just keep going."
Yeah.
And we keep going, and eventually we get to the other shore. And then I leave my boat there. Well, you take your boat and you keep going with it because you love that boat.
Okay.
And the problem is, people confuse the boat with the shore. Do you know what I mean
Yeah.
by that? Whereas, like, nobody knows for certain what's on the
What's
other
there.
side.
Yeah.
If there is another side, if there's reincarnation, which I believe in reincarnation. That's
Yeah.
where I'm at now.
So do I, yeah.
But we don't fucking know,
Right.
all right? And it's cool. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But the problem is, people confuse the religion with
Yeah.
the experience,
Yeah.
with the love. If you look at every single religion, they all teach basically the same tenets.
Right.
What is that? Love your neighbor like yourself, right?
Right.
You know,
Treat others
as you want to be treated.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, they all have the same basic shit. But the problem is, we become divided because in our minds, it's got to be this method.
Yeah.
Because my method tells me that I'm going to go to heaven. Yours,
Right.
you're not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that's I take great umbrage with that. I take great issue with that.
Yeah.
Is the fact that it's like, well, it's got to be my way or no way.
Right.
And it's like, really? Does it have to be that way?
Right.
And I'm like you. Like, I've studied. I grew up in a, I guess. So I was in the Catholic Church for a few years as a kid. I went to Catholic school for a few years.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
well, yeah. I mean, I'm a quarter Italian, 3/4 Irish. But I don't know why I made that face. I fucking make so many weird faces. It's just, oh man, I felt like I was gonna sneeze. Pickles. All right. So anyway, man, this sneeze really wants to come up. Up past. Man, I hate that. When a sneeze comes, I want it out.
Yep.
It's a great release. But so anyways, I went to Catholic church for a few years. Then I went to a non-denominational Christian, kind of like the Jesus rock shit. You know,
Yeah.
did that for a while. Then when I got into late high school, college, and I started exploring stuff, I really got into Eastern philosophy and religion,
Okay.
specifically Buddhism, heavy. And then within the last few years, it's been more like a panoply, if you will, a mixture of a bunch of religions,
Melting
especially
pot.
a lot of Hinduism more than anything, but really, like, it's the same thing, like you were saying. I love your point when you said, you know, if like I've read the Bible like front and back at least 3 times. If I can take, you know, man, this is really great. What is said in the book of Mark, like, oh man, just awesome. And then what is said, you know, in the Bhagavad Gita, right?
Yeah.
Or Buddha talking about the Four Noble Truths, and just take all this stuff, and you realize, God, they're all connected. They're all they're all triangulating to the same point.
Yeah.
But the problem is, again, it's the division of it's this way.
Yeah.
Right? Well, no, it's not.
Right.
I want to study that. It's great. But it doesn't mean that that's the only way. It's again, it's a method.
Right.
Right? Once you've used up your method, let go, move on.
Right.
And that's the thing is like you may have stages in your life where, yeah, like Christianity is suiting you.
Right.
And then it's like, you kind of move on. And it doesn't mean you're going to hell.
I mean, I've even had phases where I'm like, fuck all this stuff. Not paid attention to any of it because I'm like, you know what they say, like, oh, if you pray, if you do this, things will happen in your life, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay, but nothing's really happening in my life. And you get, you know, this was more when I was like younger and stuff, but you get to where you're like, okay, nothing's happening. So what's the point? So then you just are like, you know,
If you don't feel you are growing anymore, you move on.
Right.
And that could be moving on from a teacher. It could be moving on from a religion, a spiritual practice in your personal life. Like there's certain things in my like practice that I don't do anymore because it just doesn't profit me.
Right.
But there are other things that I do.
Right.
And that's it. Like Bruce Lee said, absorb what's useful, discard what's useless, and then add is what's your own. And essentially, you can add that to anything in life.
Even relationships.
Absolutely.
Because you can definitely outgrow people.
Been there, done that.
They stay here, and you're trying to like go here,
Absolutely.
and you're just like.
And that's the thing. We can get into that. We can jump into relationships. Shit, I wanted to talk about that. But if you look at that, you're absolutely right. Whereas, and like I said, everybody is at different levels of consciousness and awakening, if you will. Different evolutionary levels. Yeah. But if somebody really cared about you, if I really cared about you and I understood that you've outgrown me, that I no longer am helping you grow, I should have and again, the term self-awareness, I should have the self-awareness to be like, yeah, like I should let you go and move on because I'm no longer supporting you. But if you're not at that
you're
evolution,
not gonna see it.
Exactly.
You're just gonna see.
And you're like, well, how dare you?
This person sucks.
I loved you.
Right.
Right. And it's hard because then we're talking about the heart.
Right.
But yeah, that's where I feel like if we really care in a relationship about ultimately a relationship, I feel is personally I don't think anybody can make you love yourself. They can't.
No.
I think that because here's the thing. Let's get into this. This is good. Crack my neck. Maybe take a little swig skis here. And we've had conversations about relationships, so this is why we can get into that.
Yes.
Right into the anima of it.
Let's do
so what happens is in a relationship, and you're young, and you're in love. And God, music just sounds so much better. God, the sun is so much brighter.
Right.
Food tastes so much better when you're in love, right?
Yeah, that's why you gain comfort weight.
So what happens is when you're in a relationship and you love, especially like early love, right? That person that you love turns on something in you that is love.
Yeah.
It awakens it.
Yeah.
And what happens is you then cling to that. Right? Is like that's my source, right?
Yeah.
Stick a straw in and or plug in. That's my source of love. It's that electrical current. I need it. It's my high.
Right.
But here's the problem. what happens when that source gets shut off? Well, then, where's your identity?
Right.
Because you were so in love with that method, with that feeling that they did to you. Here's my thing. How can we become love itself?
Right.
And the big revelation for me is understanding that nobody, there's the narrative of the Prince Charming and the soulmates and all that, all the pie in the sky stuff. And that's wonderful and ideological and it's warm and cuddly
Disney
and
movies.
great for movies and plots. But in reality, nobody will come into your life to complete you.
No.
Nobody will come into your life to make you whole.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
And if you're expecting it, you've already failed.
You already lost.
Yeah.
What you need to do is realize who you need to direct that love and energy inward and love and make yourself whole and complete and realize nobody else will ever do that for you.
Right.
So when I say you're in love, it's not that I'm in love with you. Not to say you can't fall in love. We can talk about that. But
yeah.
I'm in love.
Right.
I'm in love with myself. I'm in the quality of love.
Right.
I become love itself,
Right.
manifest,
Yeah.
having a loving awareness.
Right.
Once you understand that, it flips it. Now, I'm not saying you can't have somebody come into your life that can give you some happiness, where you both together can work on each other and grow together, right? But don't look at somebody to give you something they can never give you.
Exactly. Especially if they can't give it to themselves.
Ooh. No, yeah.
Because there's other
Goosebumps.
people out
Absolutely.
in the world who don't love themselves, who don't appreciate themselves, who aren't confident in themselves, and then they go and try to be in a relationship, and like you were talking about, like, oh, that high, they suck it from the other person, and then, like you said, eventually it will deplete.
Yes.
And it won't only leave the host depleted because they've probably done and been there with no avail.
Yeah.
But then it also leaves, even if you don't see it right away, it also leaves you as the taker empty because you're still lost in the sauce.
Absolutely.
You still don't know what's going on. You don't know yourself. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So.
Yes. If you can't, I know that the old saying, it's kind of, again, cheesy, but there's truth behind it. You can't love somebody else if you don't love yourself, because you're giving of love.
Right.
Right? You think it's love.
Right.
But it's not.
Right.
And we could get onto that topic of what is love. Baby, don't hurt me no more. But, Jake, you owe me a soda. You owe me another glass of wine. Mm-hmm. But that's a topic for another thing. One I saw this image and it really resonated and stuck with me. Where it was basically two people, and then text below it said, a man and a woman, and text below it said, don't commit to me, commit to evolution / growth, and I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
So there's a really good book, guys. I think I've recommended this to you. When you get a chance, it's called Embracing the Beloved. Beautiful book. I've read it twice. And essentially what it's about is, when you think of the term beloved, what does that mean to you?
I don't even know, honestly.
Well, I think,
because I don't use it. Like,
it's not in the common lexicon.
Yeah.
But to me, what I would think most people say, the word beloved is like somebody you love. My beloved.
Yeah.
Come here, my beloved. Right?
I hear it used more at funerals than anywhere, honest to God. Like in the little cards and on the...
Dearly beloved.
Exactly.
We are gathered here today.
Yeah, weddings, funerals,
So your beloved are the people you love, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, in the book Embracing the Beloved, you would think in that book that the term is all about embracing another human being, because it's the subtitle is embrace. So it's embracing the beloved, using relationship as a path to awakening. Right?
Okay.
So you would think the subtitle is like. Let me back it up. My brain is getting like. Embracing the beloved, you think using relationship to awaken, which it is, but the main crux of it is that you're using when the beloved is not. It's how do we define the beloved? Is the beloved just another human being? No. Is the beloved God? Sure. It's another human being. It's God. It's yourself.
Okay.
It's all of that.
Yeah.
Using all of that to awaken.
Yeah.
So falling in love with God, falling in love with others, falling in love with
yourself.
That's the ultimate path to awakening. So in that book they talk about what's called triangulation, where is you have 2 points. You have A and B, C. So human, like my significant other, me, right? We use our relationship to grow towards the one, to grow towards unity,
That's
to grow
how it should
towards
be.
God.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So being able to rest in that unity, but dance, play in our separateness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot to be said for being able to be separate, because everybody wants a relationship and then they're like attached at the freaking hips.
Yeah. And that's not what we're talking about.
Like,
see, that's the thing, is people get that confused. Like,
because you can't grow as an individual at all if you're just constantly to somebody else.
Yep. You have to honor every plane of it.
Yeah.
You have to honor your unity. You have to honor your separateness. Because that's the thing, is people get too lost in one section of that. If they get too lost in unity, what happens? Then they, clingy. Like they fall too much in love.
Ugh.
And what happens, like we talked about earlier, if you leave me, I'm broken. I'm hurt. I'm empty, and I'm unfulfilled.
Right.
On the flip side, if I'm too separate, I'm not giving it to you, and I view you maybe as object.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's for my gratification, whether that's sexual, whether that's financial, whether that's emotional, what have you. I treat you as an object to gratify my own needs, as opposed to a subject. So it's about being able to find that balance.
Right.
And that's a tough thing in every relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's hard. God, what's the quote? I can't remember. I think it was Rilke, famous poet. Basically, he said something to the effect of, basically it all comes down to like love. Love is the hardest thing you'll ever do in life. And it's like I think he says the final test and proof for which all other actions are merely, the test for the final test.
Yeah.
Which is true. It's like, you think about it, and we can talk about this, like, think about all the relationships you've had in your life that taught you something. Right? That taught you shit. Taught you how to grow. And ultimately taught you about yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Anything you care to touch on?
I mean, I honestly, I feel like if you're in, like, that good level of self-awareness, every relationship you have should teach you something. Because it clearly went awry for a reason. But a lot of people don't look at the bigger picture. They just look at, what did I do wrong? Or, this is what they did wrong. And they want to pinpoint this. Whereas, like, it simply could have just been one person is working on growing and changing and becoming a better self. And the other person is just cradled right here. And they're not going anywhere because they lack motivation or whatever it might be, and then all of a sudden the person who's changing all of a sudden becomes a bad person because they're trying to make changes. It's not because they're trying to change them whole self. They're just trying to be a better person. And the other person doesn't understand that because they're not on the same, whatever kind of level you want to call it. So they don't get it.
Yes.
They can't be there with you, even though you try to bring them along with some of the things. It's like, teach them, but some people can't or don't want to be taught anything because they think they have it all figured out.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because, I feel like people come into your life for certain reasons, and like they're there to, whether that's your karma, whether that's God, whatever you want to define it, it's them being put in your life to help you grow.
Right.
And but see, for me, I view everything in life like as that.
Oh yeah.
Every act that I do, brushing my teeth, sex, working a job, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Every act in my life is ultimately to help me get to God.
Right.
However you want to define that, right? Using the drama of your life to grow, to grow.
Well, I tell people all the time, I'm like, you know, like, you might want to, like, complain about this or complain about that or have an issue with this, but I'm like, somebody somewhere, if you believe in that, has you in the exact position that you're supposed to be in at that exact time. It's happening, whether it's for a good reason, whether it's for you to wake the fuck up because something is wrong and you need to, like, boo, you know what I mean? But...
Well, and that's the thing is, like, I feel like around every corner of your life's journey, you come face to face with somebody that, and whether you have a dalliance, a relationship for a day, a week, a year, 10 years, that they're in your life to help you grow, to help you get to that next level.
Yeah.
And eventually you have to depart, right? I remember reading a poem about, like, you know, you meet somebody and you dance in their garden, and then you plant a beautiful flower, and then eventually you have to leave that garden, right? So, you know, saying to somebody, thank you for allowing me to dance in your garden.
Right.
You know, that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And so, because, you know, as human beings, we cling.
Yeah.
Like motherfuckers.
Yeah.
We cling. We don't want to let go. The hardest thing you can do in your life is to let go.
Yeah.
It's very hard. I've you know, I've struggled with that big time in dealing with a lot of loss, relationships, things in my life. Having to let go, having to depart, is hard. There's no getting around it.
Right.
But getting back to talking about the growth in the relationship, when somebody comes into your life, and then you have to, it's hard. It's hard to cultivate the self-awareness to understand that you're in my life to help me, to teach me a lesson, to help me grow. And then to have that awareness to say, it's just not working anymore. I'm stagnating. Because ultimately, like I said, my premise of life, that the operating base for me is to help me grow. And when I've had to say bye to somebody that wasn't helping me grow, when you have that human heart that's like, this is going to tear them apart.
Yeah.
And it's going to tear me apart.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I know that it's needs to happen, that it's perfect, because it has to happen this way. But so yes, seeing those relationships for what they are and how they grow, how they help you grow, is ultimately what it's all about.
Yeah. And see, like, all my other relationships, I've never been the one to break up.
Okay.
Not because I didn't know that it was, like, time. It's done. But it's because I don't like hurting people.
I'm with you there.
Because I don't like being hurt. You know what I mean? So I'm like a person
empathy.
That like
you have a strong heart and empathy. Yeah.
Like we talked about, treating those as you want to be treated. Now, like, is it a good thing to let it go on longer than it should have, just knowing the inevitable? Probably not. Yeah. But did I want to be the person to be like, guess what? Sorry, this isn't working for me. It's not you, it's me. Yeah. No, I didn't.
Yeah, I know. And I feel that. I feel that deep inside, because I was in a relationship for almost 5 years, maybe a little over 5 years. And to be quite honest with you, I really didn't need to be in it past, like, first couple years. Yeah. Things started to fade. Yeah. But
you, like, hold on, hoping it'll change, hoping their eyes will open, or that something will give.
And the big thing, like you said, is I didn't want to hurt them.
Yeah.
I knew what had to be done.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, the crazy predicament about it is the longer you hold on, the more you are hurting them.
I know. Well, and you build up, like, resentment, because you start, every little thing they do is like, ew, why are you doing that? Ew, you're annoying. Ew, you know what I mean?
But like, going through the act of breaking somebody's heart was very hard for me. Now I know, like, now I'm not saying I'm a heartbreaker.
Yes, he is.
But I know what has to be done, and I know ultimately, and whether that's your own sense of selfishness or your own, you have to honor, like, yourself. Yeah. And you have to say, this is my life. I have to do whatever I can for the benefit, for my growth. As long as I'm not hurting people, killing people, taking advantage of other people. If that means I need to end a relationship, when the time has come, I have to do it because it's
Yeah.
ultimately for my growth.
Yeah.
And that you look somebody in the eye and tell them that.
Right.
It's very hard.
Right. Well, and honestly, a very like forefront example. Just last night, like, because I'm trying to get better on a better health track. I'm trying to do more, for me, figuring out what works for me and stuff like this because I'm not happy physically with myself right now. Not that I'm like down in the dumps and depressed, but like I know that I can feel better about myself and that'll just elevate everything else, And so it's like Will and I work opposite shifts. So it's very hard because like I work, early in the morning till, mid-afternoonish. And by the time I get home from work, he's already been gone for an hour or two at least.
Yeah.
To go to work till at night. And it's like, okay, like in the beginning, it's like, oh, I don't have to go to work till 9 o'clock in the morning the next day. Or, oh, I'm off the next day. So just wake me up after you get a shower so we can spend time together. But it's like in doing more learning and research and stuff about health and this and that, sleep is like the number one thing. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, for me, I have to come to terms with the fact that I'm just not going to be able to get up at night anymore. So that's going to not give us much time at all together. So even saying that was very hard for me because like my internal 15-year-old girl is like, oh, great. He's going to leave me because we never see each other. You know what I mean? But like if you're really committed to one another and like actually in a relationship, an adult relationship, mature relationship that's going to last and make it, then those things shouldn't be as big of a deal as like our self may make it to be, and I think like our past relationships form to the outlooks and the things that we think are going to happen in our new relationships because of things that have happened before. Yeah. So it's just like...
Well, yeah, you look back on the boneyard of your previous relationships and you see the scars. Yeah. And you're like, damn, I don't want history to repeat itself, which is understandable. But look at it all and see, again, see it from that witnessing view of like, oh, yeah. Yeah. I needed this.
Yeah. I wouldn't take $1 million to go back to where I was.
Oh, no. Like, you needed, like, ultimately, like, and that's the thing. It's just like any traumatic experience in your life. Would you want to go back? Think about the most traumatic thing you've ever been through. Would you want to go back and experience that? No, I wouldn't either. No. However, I also wouldn't change it.
Right. No.
Because I know, it's like when something traumatic happens, it's like the cracking of an egg. Yeah. And out comes that light that's shining, that's beautiful, that's luminous, right? That's why like a lot of people that are on their deathbed are just like these peaceful, beautiful beings because they're entering into something that's very traumatic. That's, it's the end of their life. So there's no bullshit. Yeah. It's all truth. Yeah. So what happens is when you go through that trauma, you can then like arise out of like a plane rising out of the clouds and look down and see all the bullshit. Yeah. And how that bullshit you had to get through to get to where you are now and how necessary all of it was. Yeah. But goddamn, you don't want to go through that trauma again, but you needed it to grow and become who you need to become.
Yeah. When I know it's like a long time ago, but like when I was in high school, I think kind of like every kid kind of goes through like the depressive, I suck, nobody cares about me phase or whatever. But like when I was 15, 16-ish years old, so like sophomore year of high school, probably say, I was like, it was bad. Like to the point where like I was trying to figure out a way to just like, I'm done. I don't want to be here. I can't stand, my mom. I can't stand the way she treats me. I can't stand this. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares about me. And the biggest thing was through the whole thing, nobody even noticed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so then you feel more alone. But then the kicker of it was when I was 17, I was in such a bad car accident. I was dead for 6 minutes. Yeah. Laying in the street. Right. And let me tell you what, there's been times when I've been down, but because of all of that, will I ever let myself get back to that? Absolutely not, because it's like, okay, Like, and I don't even remember having a thought of, like, why did this happen to me or nothing. Like, I literally, it just clicked. Like, suck it the hell up. You have a great life. Get over yourself. And just start living. Don't worry about what other people were thinking do for you. You know what I mean? And that was at 17 years old. But it's like, yes, I've had low points, but never again. And that's, you know, something else that I try to teach Lex, too. It's like, if you're ever having those issues, please come to me. Because I went through it and no one noticed.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a good actress. Yes, I'm a good faker when it comes, you know, like, oh, I'm fine. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. And that experience, I'm sure.
But if somebody was close enough to me at that time, they would have known.
Yeah.
Because I even pick up when my friends have the slightest...
Yeah.
Hey, are you okay? Like, you know what I mean?
Something that's important for all of us to understand is, like Plato said, be kind to everyone you meet because they're fighting a battle you know nothing about.
Yeah.
And to bring it full circle, to talk about what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
About how the guy at the coffee shop who calls you a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
What's he going through, right?
Right.
So... Good call. But so having the trauma, going through all that stuff, and you know, I remember you telling me about when you were, you know, dead for a while. Like, talk about something that'll wake you up for sure, for sure. And what happens is there's that piercing of the veil, right? And then you it's not, you get an insight like, life isn't really what I thought it was. It's so different.
Yeah.
What it could be, what it should be. Let's kind of wrap up with a couple questions here because we're already at an hour, girl. We are.
Oh my god.
We are moving and grooving.
We're killing it.
It's great. Just a couple questions. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know if I ever want to grow up.
I don't want to grow up. I'm a toys the best kid. Yeah, I'm with you.
I really don't. I mean,
I know. I'm thinking about getting rid of that question because it's like, it's kind of like too on the nose, but it's also like interesting. I want to see where people take it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just here to live life. You know what I mean?
Beautiful. Girl, you were doing that.
I've already almost had my time, so it's like.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah. Here I is, baby.
You know?
Yeah, don't grow up.
No.
You shouldn't.
And that's, I tell Lex all the time, I'm like, mm-mm.
And that's the other thing, too. Like, putting labels on things.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
You know, like, but again, as human beings, we need labels.
Right.
We gotta define.
Like,
by
30, you
what
should
is
have
it? Oh,
kids.
God, don't even.
By
ooh.
35, you should be married with a house
Oh,
and
God,
this.
Yuck City, USA.
Comparing somebody else's middle page to somebody else's first page and all that
It's
stuff.
nonsense. And again, where does that come from? Where does that narrative come from?
Right. I don't know.
Who
Somebody
comes up
probably
with it?
made it up like
Right?
everything else.
You know,
Who
people,
knows?
again, the cultural conditioning. It says, you gotta be like this.
Right.
A relationship is between a man and a woman, and
Exactly.
you gotta be
oh my
like
God,
this.
yes.
Like, all right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so fascinating. The minute you put a label on something, you define, like, you distance yourself from it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's so fascinating. So yeah, fuck it, don't grow up.
No.
Why?
I don't want to.
Some of the conversations and things we have, it's like we're hitting puberty again, you know? It's like...
And I'm a boy, not a girl.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's why you get along with stunt teams so much, is we're all dudes and, you know, we're saying these, you know, dick jokes and whatnot, and he's over here just adding to them. Oh, you think that's a good one? All right, well then we'll finish with this question.
Yeah.
If you had to go back to your 20-year-old self, what wise advice would you give them?
Honestly, don't change what you're doing for someone else. Keep doing what you're doing, and whoever comes into your life, if they don't like it, then they're not meant to be there. Because I had a lot of fun in my 20s, but then when certain person came along, everything changed. So yes, like, I wouldn't have my son, but literally everything changed. Whereas if I would have just kept doing me and not, I don't want to say not being a yes person, because that's how I tried to be when I was younger. Like, experience it all, yeah. But I gave all that away just because I thought I was in love, like we talked about before. And then, so life is completely different now.
Yeah.
So I guess in some ways, Like tonight when we go out, I'm trying to reclaim a little bit of my,
Yeah.
but.
I'll say this, well,
And find yourself. Worry about finding yourself before you worry about finding someone else.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That should be in a fortune cookie, Well, I'll say this, you're doing a great job. You're crushing it.
Don't make me cry.
Just keep it up, and don't settle. You said this before, never settle. Know your worth, know your value. You are to be loved, to be cherished, and to be admired. And if somebody doesn't see that, they have fucking blinders on.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you're a beautiful soul, and you deserve every ounce of love in the universe. And thank you for coming on my podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome back anytime.
Oh, yeah.
Where if people wanted to see more about you, learn more about you, any plugs, any things you want to give out?
I honestly don't put that much out on social media just because the whole craziness of things going on when you have a child.
I got you. Okay.
If anybody really wants to, they can contact you and
I can put it, and if you want, it will be like right here. I'm trying to put it on the whatever. We can put your handle there or whatever.
Sure.
J Love, here she is in all her glory. Look at this. Look at her aura. Isn't it just beautiful, guys? Take it in. All right. Well, that was another great edition of Winoism. Thank you again, Jenna. Yeah. Much love to you.
Anytime.
And on your journey. And much love to you guys. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next time.